Daredevil Born Again is back, baby. Season 2 is here, and I am here to do my review of it. So, like always, I'm doing it the day after, because I watch it the day after. I'm not fucking watching this shit late at night. No goddamn way. So, I am here now with my review of Season 2, Episode 1. So, let's get through it, right? Why wait? Let's stop wasting time and let's get through it. So the episode begins with Matt Murdock as Daredevil in the new black suit. He's in the new black suit with the double D's, thank God. So he's on this ship called the Northern Star, and the Northern Star is being used to smuggle large weapons into the Red Hook port, which was a big thing in season 1, which is like, oh, the Red Hook port, you know, it's not actually I believe the whole thing was it's not actually technically under the jurisdiction of New York, so it's kind of a free zone to do whatever you want, and Fisk is using that to smuggle in weapons through the ship. So Matt Murdock shows up, fights off the crew, the captain and the I believe it is like the co-captain or whatever. They both sink the ship because that was their orders, and that's where we go. So now the ship is kind of half sunken in the river. The rest of the crew dies. Fuck them, I guess. And the co-captain and the captain escape. Daredevil escapes. We get to the intro, which is the exact same. So they're doing the Daredevil Netflix thing where they don't change the intro. So then we go to Daredevil returns to Josie's Diner, which is like the new base of operations, I guess, because Josie's Diner shut down, it's abandoned, so he and Karen are using that as their base of operations. Karen was told about the Northern Star due to her source, which, who is the source? Oh boy. So we do find out that Karen and Matt are dating now. Finally, you know, I'm happy with that. I'm all for it. This should have probably been something that happened in the Netflix show. I'm happy that they finally pulled the trigger, though. Karen and Matt are dating, so that makes me happy about that. So then we move to Fisk, and he kind of like sees, you know, the Northern Star destroyed. Oh my God, he's like, you know, this is a terrorist attack done by the masked vigilante Daredevil and Karen Page. You know, he gets to his little, you know, that little fucking stooge that what's his name, Gandolfini's son plays, right? Like the fat guy who wants to be with Fisk. Not in that way. Maybe that way. I don't fucking know. This is Disney. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll get on that, Mr. Fisk. And then Fisk tells Buck, who is like his new henchman, the not Wesley, British Wesley. He's like, find the two, you know, crew members that survived and, you know, killed them, essentially. In Washington, D.C., a guy called Mr. Charles watches the news report of the Northern Star, and he heads over to New York. This is Matthew Lillard's character. So I was like, hey, Matthew Lillard. And the way they kind of show him, it's kind of like they show his face, just you're like, it's Matthew Lillard. You know who he is. Look, be happy. And I was happy to see him. So Karen then, Karen finds out the names of the captain and the first mate, so that's the co-captain, captain, first mate, and Mac's like, all right, well, the best thing I can do is go find them, and that's what he goes to do. So then at City Hall, Fisk is getting a visit from the Attorney General and the Lieutenant Governor, and they're kind of saying about how, you know, your Safer Streets Act and all the vigilantism and terrorism that you are and the fact that, you know, he's making vigilantism terrorism, and, you know, you're going to be under scrutiny now from us, right? That's essentially what they're saying. And Fisk's like, I clean the streets, you know, and there's going to be vigilante trials soon that are happening, which is like all the people that have been arrested for vigilantism are now going to go on trial, and the Attorney General is like, well, we're going to be overseeing this. You know, then Mr. Charles walks in, and he's holding, like, I think he was holding a fucking, like, a gyro. And he just sits down, and he's just, like, you know, like, making a mess of everything, right? Like, he's like super unprofessional. And then he's like, oh, I'm meant to be here, right? And he's like, he's a CIA operative from Langley. And then the Attorney General gets a call, and he's like, oh yeah, you're gonna want to answer that. And he like takes a bite of his food, and it's a call from fucking Madam Hydra. And I'm like, just hearing her name, I'm like, ew. And then immediately the Attorney General's like, as I was saying, Mr. Fisk, we are completely supportive of everything you're doing. So we got a call basically saying, back the fuck off. So then we move on to Heather Glenn, who was Matt's girlfriend in the previous season and was an annoying bitch. So she's doing a psych evaluation of the swordsman because of what happened at the end of season 1. And this is like, it's 4-year trial. You need to do a psych eval. And so she starts asking him questions, and he's not being cooperative. And then she's writing down stuff like he's hostile, he hates authority, he's delusional, stuff like that. So then she starts asking him the standard questions, right? She threatens him a bit where she's like, you are detained under the Safe to Streets Act, meaning Mayor Fisk and the Anti-Vigilante Task Force have full authority. He's like, those officers outside can come in here, beat the fuck out of you however they want if you don't comply with them. Now answer my fucking questions, essentially what she's saying. Oh gee, I wonder what fucking parallels we're trying to tell here. So as she asks her questions though, she sees like a delusion of Muse outside and kind of like spooks her a bit. So then we move to Murdoch and Duffy firm, where they're just swamped with cases of people being detained. Kristen gives Cherry some files, just a buttload of files. He's like, I'm retired, right? Like, I don't need to fucking do this. You don't need to do this, Cherry. Why the fuck are you here? Get out. Then I believe he's the DA. He might be just another lawyer, or he's the DA. I don't fucking know. I don't really care. Shows up to Kristen, and he's going to be her opposition in Jack's case. And he tries to get her to just quit this, come back to the DA office. I'll pay you a bunch. Like, you're on the losing side here. She tells him to go fuck himself, and he says, all right, see you in trial. I tried. Then we have Cherry meets with Matt. Matt kind of tells him, like, this is what was happening with the North Star. We need to find the captain and the first mate, all that type of stuff, and all that. Then we have, oh god, this scene here. So the Anti-Vigilante Task Force arrive at a restaurant, a Greek restaurant, and confront the owner. And he gives her a picture of the two men, right? The captain and the first mate. And he says, I know these men hang out around here. Do you know where they are? And they arrive in fucking military cars, swatted the fuck up. And I'm like, oh gee, I wonder what this is supposed to be. It's so subtle, I can't fucking put my fingers on it. I wonder what it is. And then when she refuses to cooperate, she calls them a fascist. Dude, it's so fucking like, oh my god, dude. And here's the thing, and this is what they like to say. Well, we actually wrote this before the whole thing with ICE happened, right? It's just a coincidence that, real life started to imitate our fiction, right? Even if that's the case, which I'm pretty sure it is, they still lean into it in interviews. Like, all these fucking actors, all the writers, the producers, they lean into it going, oh, we're hoping that, people can see what's happening in our show and notice what's actually happening in real life. Okay, buddy. I'm sure all 5 people who watched season 1 are really coming back to watch season 2. So then he, like this is a parody of what they think an ICE raid is what this is, right? Like, they punch her for not cooperating. They find the captain who was hiding there, and they beat the shit out of him after, because they think this is what an ICE raid actually is. That's what this is. That's what it is. We then have, so throughout this episode, they've had like little shots of the BB report, kind of showing what people think about Wilson Fisk as mayor and all that type of stuff, and it's all pretty positive. And then eventually we get like a cut, and there's a guy in a Fisk mask who is like calling Wilson Fisk out for being a criminal. He's got like a mayor kingpin desk and all that. So I wonder who that's gonna be. I don't know. I got no idea who this could be. Whoever it is does a pretty good fucking Vincent D'Onofrio impression, I'll tell you that much. I have no idea who this is. I'm sure as the episodes go on, we'll get some, more details on who this is. But for the moment, it's just someone who's disgruntled with Fisk, but they're laying the seeds down for you. So then, BB Urich shows up to the guy's place. Blake, I think is his name, shows up to his new place where he's got a party. Oh my god, whoa. And she tells him, be careful with Fisk, because if he goes down, you're gonna go down with him. And he's like, yeah, and he's kind of just like dismissive. Then we move to the owner of the restaurant. She's cleaning it up after, after the vigilante task force here. Matt Murdock shows up. He's like, I'm a lawyer and I just want to help. She's been secretly getting people out of New York, which is very, very much the opposite of what happens probably in New York in real life, where people secretly get people into New York. She then tells, she and Matt have like a bit of a talk about what she planned to do, which was get the captain out of the country, but obviously that's not going to work. Matt says, do you know where the first mate is? She says no, but if the vigilante task force is after him, good luck, type of thing. So then the captain is being tortured by Powell, the head of the vigilante task force, and he's like, do you know, why'd you sink the ship? Well, I was told to. Do you know where your first mate is? No, I have no idea. That type of thing. He's bloody and beaten. Buck shows up and he's like, whoa, what are you doing, man? Why are you beating him up? You got to be nice about these type of stuff. Maybe next time don't beat the fuck out of him, because they're not really going to comply. Just be nice, right? He's like, I got this. You go over there. I got this now, right? And then Buck starts talking nicer to him, like that type of thing. And the captain's like, I just want to go home. I just did what I was ordered to do. And he goes, I think I can arrange for that. And then Buck shoots him in the head and kills him. So then Mr. Charles meets with Wilson. He meets with Fisk and Vanessa at their mansion. And, he pretty much says that his employers appreciate Fisk's cooperation, but this North Star situation, it's getting out of hand, And, Fisk is like, well, the task force is going to salvage the shipment. And Charles is like, well, you do realize, though, that, after this whole shipment is done, you're going to have to kill the guys offloading the ship. But, I can resolve the issue so nothing gets traced to you, right? Because, Fisk hires some guys and then they show up missing or dead a while. It's going to, people will be like, hey, what's this? He's like, but if I do it, squeaky clean, buddy. No problem with you. So very clearly, Charles, as you can tell, obviously, because he had fucking Lady Hydra call earlier, is a bit of a dirty man, So they kind of all agree to, like, we'll work together on this type of thing. And I did want to point out that when they're at this meeting, like at their table, Vanessa's sitting at the head of the table, and Fisk is next to her like a bitch. Just an FYI, just had to point that out. So we find out that Karen's source this whole time has been B.B. Urich, and they have a bit of a talk about what Ben Urich meant to Karen, and all that type of stuff. They have a full-on talk about that, and that's pretty much it, right? And then Karen just tells her, don't get too close to, the person you're trying to manipulate, that type of thing. Then we move on to Dr. Glenn. She's going over her results for Jack's evaluation. She gets a call from the DA, and he's like, I really appreciate your notes and all that, but I think you may have got the data a bit wrong here, like just subtly kind of nudging her to be like, you should change this data so that way my new case can work better. And you can tell she doesn't like it, but then she gets flashbacks to Muse, and then she's like, I'm fully on board. So that's what they're trying to say, is she's doing all this and she's joining the task force and going with what they must say, because she's still, dealing with the stuff about Muse, which, what, that's it, that's fair enough. If a guy tried to murder me, I'd be like, yeah, fuck vigilantes too, to be honest. Then we get the first mate. So we go back to that Greek restaurant, and everything's going, business is going, and then like a chef comes and he tells the owner, hey, there's a homeless man outside, he was feeding in the dumpster. And she goes, oh, we'll make him a plate of food, he's just hungry. Because that's what all of them fucking do, right? It's not like any restaurant owners don't see that and say, hey, get the fuck out of here or I'll call the cops. No, they all just go, oh, get him a plate, he's just hungry. Fucking idiots. Then it's the first mate, and he's like, I was told you could help me. And, she's like, oh, yeah, I'll help you. Cherry is going over the case files that Kristen gave him. The vigilante task force breaks down his door, and they start beating him up, saying, what are you doing? Why are you looking for the captain and first mate? And Cherry plays dumb. Daredevil shows up, takes out the guards. He notices that Cherry's having a bit of a heart attack, though, and that distracts him enough for the guards to get a jump on him. They unmask him and reveal he's Matt Murdock. It's like, holy shit, that's Matt Murdock. Because, to the public, Matt Murdock's just gone missing. Before they can do anything, though, a knife comes smashing through the window, kills them all, and on the knife just says "You're welcome" with a little bullseye on it, so you obviously know who it is, and that is Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, Episode 1. This episode was fucking boring. There was nothing exciting at all in this episode. It was just a bunch of people fucking talking. The action scenes, they tried to make him brutal, but I'm like, it's like a fucking 5-year-old thinking, oh, this is brutal, you know? It's like, it's nothing. Yeah, this whole episode was a bunch of fucking nothing, and I get people are gonna be like, oh, well, it's just an introduction. Shouldn't the first episode of your show be something that hooks me in and makes me go like, oh man, I want to see more of this? I don't give a fuck now. I'm gonna watch it, but I have no be like, oh man, I can't wait for next episode. I'm just like, yeah, it's fucking whatever. So yeah, that's the episode. It's fucking just whatever. It's whatever. I laughed at the ice raid though at the restaurant. I was fucking laughing. So that's gonna do it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I will see you guys all next time.